you bounce off these Goombas and get in the ground at the end of 1-1, you can run over to the flag, get a full flagpole glitch. Since this skips not only the flag coming down, but also the need for Mario to walk to the castle, it saves a lot of time. Doing it this way at 1-1 can save around 1.4 seconds. That's pretty huge. There aren't any other places we can clip near a flagpole in the run, but there is one other candidate for the floor clip to save time. In 1-2 to reach the warp zone. The falling platform lets us start a jump from all sorts of different heights, and that makes it possible to reach 7 speed right next to the ground and clip in. This trick, combined with Pal's very fast acceleration, saves 0.72 warping to World 4. One final perk of PAL physics is in 4-2. On NTSC, this is about the hardest stage to run. It takes something like 17 frame perfect inputs to match the task in 4-2 on NTSC, but on PAL, you can kind of just jump backwards into a couple walls. You can push forwards plenty of pixels for the wrong warp to work. You can do some simple warp gun movement with PAL's really fast acceleration, and yeah, it ends up being possibly the easiest stage to match the task instead of the hardest. The same is also true of 8-4. No need for constant double fast acceleration jumps everywhere. The stairs at the beginning are a little tricky, but after that you can mostly just hold right and left to accelerate where you need to, and only lose a very small handful of frames throughout the stage. There is a trick in the third room where you land without holding the run button, so you can turn around and get the wrong one right back. So that's a tiny optimization. In general, getting at 8-4 is pretty straightforward.
Hey, we're switching to Spectrum Internet. Let's see why. It's so reliable and fast.
Get Spectrum Internet for $49.99 and ask about the 2-year price guarantee.
Alright, we've gone over a few places where PAL has version exclusive glitches that let us go faster than NTSC, and the stages that are usually the hardest are now the easiest. This should definitely make 453 possible. The current world record does the floor flip in 1-1. He doesn't do the 1 and 1-2, and 8-4 wasn't quite as good as he'd hoped. Moment of truth, if we were to add all of these things into his run, what kind of a time would we get? 503! What gives? That is so far off. We're supposed to be talking about 453. Alright, before you write your angry comment, let's keep going. Even though Mario can run through the stages at the same top speed as NTSC and accelerate faster, and do brand new glitches to save time, the timer takes longer to count down. The timer ticks down once every frame to award you points at the end of levels, and since PAL is up to 50 frames per second instead of 60, that's sadly just going to take longer every time it happens. You lose about a second on average each time. Well, if we're losing 5 seconds to the timer counting down throughout the run, how are we possibly going to get a port of this version? Here we go, friends. One more version exclusive trick on the PAL version, the most powerful of them all. In my videos about how 453 is almost possible on NTSC, I explained that it's just barely not possible to grab the flag low enough for a full flag glitch, without special conditions like an enemy or clipping in the floor. Even with the best known approach and input combination, Mario is a fraction of a pixel too far away. But here we are on the PAL version, with slightly different physics, and what do you know? It is possible. Wait, if we can do this, why are we bothering clipping in the floor in 1-1? Why isn't the world record doing this in runs on all of these flagpoles? Well, here are the inputs you need to pull this trick off. On top of getting the perfect positioning with your jump to the flagpole, you need to switch between left and right on the D-pad every frame. The D-pad has to be on left, and then all the way down on right the next frame. Then all the way down on left the next frame, and then all the way to the right again. All frame perfectly, a frame perfect jump is made. Here's what that input sequence looks like in real time. These are some fast and physically difficult inputs. It is possible to do inputs like these by utilizing some interesting controller moves, but it's really hard to do them reliably. Runners typically tackle them by holding the controller sideways and using their left hand for A, B, and right on the D-pad. They then use 2 fingers on the opposite hand to double click left on the D-pad. On the surface, this might just look like what Tetris players do, where they roll on the controller to get really fast inputs. And they do that constantly, so this can't be that hard. But it's more than that. This has more moving parts, and it's more precise. You need the perfect amount of pressure on both sides of the D-pad, so you properly get left, right. It's really easy for one of the inputs to not go through, and just one frame of neutral anywhere in the sequence will ruin everything. All of this may start to sound a little familiar if you've heard about the legendary final frame that was saved in 8.4 on NTSC. An ultra-hard input sequence is required to do the beginning of the level at perfect speed. The full flagpole glitch inputs are very similar to that, and runners have pulled that off. But let's take a step back and remember that this spot is infamously hard. This is the hardest time save in the entire run on that version. It was the very last hurdle runners had to overcome to prove that a perfect run was even theoretically possible. Now here we are on the PAL version, where we need this type of thing once again. But it doesn't save one frame in this version. It saves 2.8 seconds on every flagpole. They didn't adjust the length of the flag animation on the PAL version, so it's 20% slower than NTSC, and skipping it entirely saves a lot of time. But doing so is so hard. 453 is possible, but is it really viable to do this hard of a trick 5 times in one run? Runners have shown that it's possible in general. The first person to prove it was 3Creepio, showing that it could theoretically be done. Later, one other runner in particular took this concept and started tearing the game up with it. To no one's surprise, it's Nifsky. About a year and a half ago, he set out to try and match the tasks on each stage individually. Here he is, hitting the trick for the first time in a full run of 1-1. A little while later, he also managed to get it in a full run-through of 4-1, as well as an 8-3. These three brought the human sum of best down to 456.5. Getting close, but wow, it's still a ways off time. It's kind of unfortunate in a way. Personally, I think we're actually really lucky that this trick isn't possible on NTSC. It makes the run a lot more interesting when you save a small amount of time in a bunch of different places, rather than things being over-centralized on one big trick. I think this trick would really ruin worthless categories as well, since you just want to focus on doing full flagpole glitches, instead of optimizing Bowser kills and other interesting things like that. Anyway, if he kind of hit a roadblock after he got those first 3 levels done. The 2 remaining stages with flagpoles are a bit harder and more complicated. E1 has some frame perfect side jumps and is a hard level in general. You don't have time to switch grips at the end of the stage, so you have to play the entire thing in this awkward way, and it makes it hard just to get to the flagpole, let alone do the full flagpole glitch. And then there's A2, which has a couple obstacles blocking your path. The spiny egg that Lakitu throws at the start is right in your way on the PAL version. You have to slow down a little bit to get past it. It's also not possible to get past this pipe without slowing down. So that makes it tricky to have consistent movement and be precisely lined up for the flagpole glitch at the end. These trials were too much for Nifsky to overcome, and it turns out that 453 is completely impossible forever. Just kidding. Last week, Nifsky learned I was working on this video and decided to go finish the job. He spent one day getting 8-1, and then another day getting 8-2. And just for good measure, he took one more day to do some extra save work and managed to tie the task there to the frame as well. Granted, that is easier on this version than on NTSC, but still very impressive. And all of that makes a perfect run of this version theoretically possible. So, what is the perfect time with all of these tricks anyway? Sorry to say it, guys, but I've actually clicked these. 452 is possible. 452.2. If you do a perfect run of this game, that's the time you'll get. 5 full flagpole glitches. Floor clip in 1-2, tight movement in 4-4. That does leave about 4 frame rules of wiggle room if we just want to get a 453 and officially make this the fastest version of the game for speedrunners. And it just so happens that if you do the floor clip in 1-1 for the easier flagpole glitch, and your movement is perfect throughout the stage, you can just barely squeeze out a frame rule. And that lets you clock in just 4 frame rules behind the regular full flagpole glitch. I think that could be a good approach to 453. But don't listen to me. I haven't ran this version. Let's hear things from the current world record holder, Miniland. Fittingly, it's from the UK, a PAL region. Let's hear what his thoughts are about the future of PAL.
If I think the future of PAL, well, it's going to depend on if people actually care to roll the games. If people want to play the games, I think 5 versus 3 without full RPGs very good. Someone's interested enough and gets good at flat pieces, which should happen. Get sub 5.
Honestly, the main reason the record on PAL isn't lower is mostly just because very few people have put time into it. The NTSC version is a lot more widely popular and already has a storied history. But I wonder where we'd be if the NTSC version never existed. What if the original was just like this from the get-go?
Here's the thing. If NTSC didn't exist, we would never have had Andrew sub 5 and all that. Say we lived in a world where NTSC exists, the world record right now was 505 PAL. There would be people looking at PAL, looking at the game and going, you know, we just have to do full RPGs and we get sub 5. The first ever time someone had ever beat Mario 1 in under 5 minutes. And then they would go for it in a heartbeat. See, 5 people went for sub 5. The first person gets sub 5. The others are just going to quit. It's like 44 people keep going and trying to improve it. So I can see someone going, oh, you've got sub 5. I'm going to do more flagpole glitches. We'd be so much better at full RPGs than we are now. Because we have reason to get good at them. I think there's always going to be someone crazy enough to go, record is this. I'll just one up it. I'll do one poll.
So there you go, guys. It could happen someday, but it's way harder to do than the current world record on the NTSC version is. And the flagpole inputs aren't just hard, they also hurt.
Doing this literally gives you blisters. Physically scraping your finger across the keypad like that. You ever see people do A4AL that wearing tape on their fingers? That's not for like grips or anything. That's so they don't get injured. Or else they get injured less.
But even with all these factors, if people get enough interest, it may one day happen. After all, people are always asking what runners are going to do after they finally get a perfect run. So maybe grinding the PAL version is the next step. Sub 5 itself is going to be a huge milestone for the PAL version someday. Maybe the thought of going even faster than NTSC can will motivate someone down the road to try. Let's even say 454.9 happens or something, and people are like, we don't want to play anymore. It's possible to get under NTSC on PAL, right? That's what 453 means. That would be the fastest completion of the game. Would that be an incentive to get 453?
Yes, but I would.
Spoiling my next video. That's right, this isn't the end of the road. Sorry to do this to you guys again, but there is yet another approach we can take to try and beat Super Mario Bros. Faster than ever. But once again, that's a story for another day. Thanks for watching. Okay, we are really close to 200,000 subscribers. I'm going to keep making videos like these, so consider subscribing if you enjoy it. It helps.
No, keep going.
Super Mario Brothers, any percent. Whenever someone sets a new world record for speedrunning this game, it always makes the news. It's not only one of the most popular and recognizable games of all time, but it also has something unique as a game to speedrun. A key element that makes every improvement to the record a landmark achievement. We'll talk about that. But first, you have to understand that all past records pale in comparison to what we'll talk about today. Last month, speedrunner Nifty did the unthinkable. Today we'll deep dive into breaking down his accomplishment, a feat so great it's worthy of the title, the biggest milestone in Mario speedrunning history. I've had a hard time getting sponsorships for my videos, so I really appreciate your support by subscribing or on Patreon. Alright, today we're going to talk about the significance of this speedrun. What sets it apart? What sets Super Mario Bros. Apart as a speed game? How did we even get where we are today? How many frame perfect tricks are in this? What's the future of the game? I'll go over all of that, share some unbelievable statistics, and more. First off, you need to know why this run is a big deal. Ever since I got into speedrunning in 2011, I always heard people remarking that the world record in Super Mario Bros. Was perfect. Despite the record being improved every year for the past decade, a lot of people are still under that impression. Well, this time, it finally is. Up to 8-4 anyway. This run is completely flawless prior to 8-4, and is the first run ever in history that was. If the these runs is absolutely crazy pace in 7 out of 10 levels. This game famously runs on cycles known as frame rules, which limit how fast you can go. It makes the runs boil down to doing each stage fast enough to make the perfect cycle, even if the stage wasn't necessarily perfect. So with that fact in mind, every single stage still has a myriad of frame perfect inputs you have to do in order to get the perfect frame. For 2016, nobody was getting the perfect time on any of the stages. This was mostly due to the flagpole glitch. By clipping very precisely into the base of the flagpole, you can grab the flag from inside the block, and then the flag doesn't come down at all. This trick had only been done a handful of times ever, until the renowned glitch hunter Stockholder came along and found a setup for the glitch, which is still used today. Runners quickly started using it and matching the task in 3 of the 8 levels. There were 2 other flagpoles in the run you could do it on. The 8-1 required some extra stuff in order to make the train rule cycle, and 8-2 already had a different glitch on the flag in play. 1-2 was the next frame rule to fall, when Happy Lee showed this setup and strategy to make that frame rule viable in runs. At this point, you could make it through about half the run on perfect pace, literally tied with the task. Then, in 2021, runners started getting runs in the 454 range, which were perfect in 8-1 and 8-2. But 4-2 was a roadblock for a long time. We'd have 3 perfect levels, lose a frame rule in 4-2, 3 more perfect levels, and then 8-4, which is its own beast. If we could just get the 4-2 frame rule to fall, it would blast open a pathway to the perfect run. And that's exactly what has happened recently. Runners got it in practice, they started getting it in runs, and now, 38 years after the game's release, Nifty has performed the first ever perfect run to 8-4. And what's more, on the greatest pace of all time, Nifty clutched out an excellent 8-4 to bring the world record down to a 454.63. This is huge. Bring the world record down to a 454.63. This is huge. But why is it huge? Is it just because it's Super Mario Brothers? Does everything get to be more important just because of Mario? Well, I think the significance here is that we can see a light at the end of the tunnel. The tunnel that leads to the first ever perfect speedrun of a full game. Yes, there are perfect speedruns out there already, but they always fall into one of 2 categories. The first category are runs that are too short to be considered a full game run. They either literally are only part of a game, like an individual level run, or something like a single minigame in Mario Party. There are plenty of perfect scores that have been achieved in runs like these. Or if there's a perfect run and it is a full game, then it's a game so short it may as well be a Mario Party minigame. The other type of runs which don't really qualify are runs that are way too easy to perfect. An example is Home Alone on the NES, where the goal of the game is to simply survive for 20 minutes. As long as you survive and don't pause or do anything evil, you automatically tie the world record. And you can even get the villain stuck in a wall outside and then just stand there for most of the run.
Yo, you dog.
Actually, the music changes too. So basically, yes, there are perfect runs out there, but they're either just a piece of a game, the game is very short, or the game runs on cycles, so you don't have to be perfect. Maybe I'm just not familiar with some runs out there. Let me know if there are examples I'm missing. But as far as I know, Super Mario Bros. Any percent could be the first real full game speedrun to be perfected. The funny thing is, though, the whole reason it's possible in Super Mario Bros. Is because the game has all the attributes I just described. It's a pretty short game in the first place, and in any percent, you're only playing part of the game. It's an easy game to optimize. You just run to the right, and you're playing optimally most of the time. And the game runs on cycles. The 21 frame rule between levels. A great irony in speedrunning is that oftentimes the reason speedruns of a particular game may be really insane is actually because speedrunning that game is so easy. Runners can afford to go for literally every time save possible because the game is easy to optimize outside of doing those tricks. Super Mario Bros. Is the perfect example of that. Alright, I'm hardly even talking about the new world record at this point. Let's get back to that. Nifty got all of the perfect frame rules in this run, including the recently implemented one in 4.2. Just a few years ago, we were only perfect on half of the stages. How did we get here? Speedruns of this game really started to change in late 2020 and into 2021. There honestly was just a big knowledge gap among runners of this game. If you ask why the 8-2 frame rule wasn't viable for someone to do, the answer genuinely used to be like, that's the word on the street. I hear the movement is too insane for something. Now we understand the game's mechanics so much better, and it's way easier to diagnose issues or solve problems. Even comparing the first time the 82 frame rule was saved by Taven Webb in 2019 to the way Nifsky does it in his run, you can see there are major differences. There's a good reason Taven did it this way at the time, and it's too much to get into right now, but yeah, even for the original Super Mario Brothers, we're still gaining helpful and relevant knowledge each passing year. Along with this knowledge, we've gained a lot of new tools in our tool belt. People like Nobody Calls Me Tubby and Kriller37 were very influential in developing new ways to go about doing tricks. Before they came around, the setups for some tricks were a nightmare. In A1, to get set up for the flagpole glitch, the strategy literally used to be push left for some number of frames and hope you got it. Nowadays, the strategies usually look something like this. Jump on a specific frame and hold down plus right while you're in the air. Doing so will get your positioning all set up to do whatever precise trick you're going for. Stuff like this has made all of the extremely precise tricks way more viable for humans to pull off and match the task in just about any stage we put our mind to. So now that you understand some of the context of this run and the journey we've been on to get here, let's dive into the specifics of this run. This run was a new world record by 0.16 seconds or 10 frames. Nifty saved 21 frames in 4.2 over his previous record, so he obviously lost 11 frames in 8.4. But it's more that he just didn't go for those frames. The pattern of world records in this game typically goes like this. Get a new fastest pace ever to 8.4, play a decently fast 8.4, new world record by 0.1 or 0.2. Then, do more attempts to get back there on that same pace, and play more aggressively in 8.4 to get the full frame rule's worth of time saved. Once someone has nailed an amazing 8.4, it starts making more sense to try and save a frame rule somewhere and reach 8.4 on a new fastest pace. And the cycle continues. But the cycle ends here, because there are no more frame rules to save. All the remaining time is in 8.4. We are just 22 frames from perfection. Yes, 22 frames left in 8.4 does mean that technically you could go a frame rule slower and then play 8.4 perfectly to set a new world record by 1 frame, but as you'll see later, that would be a pretty stupid idea. The 8.4 in Nipsey's previous record was by far the best 8.4 ever in a world record run. 5 frames faster than any record before it. So to go 11 more frames faster than that is asking a lot. Before I talk about just how hard it is to do a perfect 8.4, I want to talk about how hard it is to get that far in a run first. What are the chances, statistically, for a run to get that far? Getting a perfect 4.2 is obviously the biggest bottleneck, so let's start there. Nifty told me he estimates hitting it in a run about 5% of the time. Looking over his first 2 days of attempts, he got it 1 out of 35 times on day 1 and 2 out of 30 times on day 2. That checks out so far. But as every great SW1 80% player will tell you, some days you're on and some days you're off. And the day Nipsey got the world record, he was definitely on. Nifty hits a rate of 4 in 24, or a 1 out of 6 success rate for 4.2, which is already great. But nothing could prepare us for what happened next. What is happening? Back to back. His world record run not only bumped his success rate to 6 out of 26, which is an amazing 23%, but it was also his third successful 4.2 in a row. Nifty was on fire. It's really incredible to see someone prove that a trick this hard can be if you put in the work. In my previous video about Nifty, I went over a lot of Nifty's insanely impressive speedrunning accomplishments. Definitely give it a watch if you haven't, especially if you take any issue with this. I promise you'll gain some valuable insights. But something I failed to talk about in that video is why Nifty is such an incredible speedrunner. He doesn't have magic talent or special speedrunning genes or whatever. Nifty puts in the work. Yeah, he sets a new world record almost every time he streams, but you'll notice his streams are usually pretty spread out. The gap between streams, he's preparing for his next world record, practicing every segment until there's almost no room for failure left. And then he streams attempts and puts his all into them. The reason Nifty is better than everyone else is because he puts in more work than everyone else. Plain and simple. So, what are the odds that someone like this can take a run all the way to 8-4? Here are Nifty's safe estimates on his consistency with nailing each stage in a run. If we start to add them all up, we'll see that we eventually arrive at about a 0.3% chance to make it to 8-4. In other words, about 1 in 300 runs. For a short run like this, and especially one so hard, that's actually not too bad. That's a testament to his consistency at all the tricks. Add on the 80% chance of success he gives himself upon reaching 8-4, and this is the likelihood of him achieving his world record run. How true to life is this? Is it a good estimate? Well, you are not going to believe this. Nifty got his previous record of 454.79 on attempt 15,285. When he started up attempts again to try for 454.6, he did a few days of attempts and eventually got it on attempt 15,661. That's 376 attempts. Wow. Right on the money. I guess he did 375 attempts and then was like, alright, I'm due for it, and just did it. Really crazy statistical prediction. I want to make it very clear, though, just how crazy it is to get this time in only 376 attempts. How does that statistic compare to previous world records in this game? Here's a chart of a good chunk of the past world records. These are the ones I have the best data for, as far as how many attempts they took. For clarity, and to be fair to Miniland, about 10,000 of these were to get 454.98, and then only about 1,200 of those were getting 454.91 from there. But yeah, as you can see, there is quite a bit of variance. There are some long grinds, there are some short grinds. There are definitely some statistical outliers. You could look at this and say the average number of attempts to get this world record is about 4,000 or so. Definitely an order of magnitude higher than Nifty's 376. At the end of the day, the numbers of course don't tell the full story. Each one of these records happened at different points in history. Different eras, different knowledge levels, different tricks being used. There's a lot of context to keep in mind behind each one of these. While the numbers don't tell the full story, these ones definitely tell a story. Look at that, man. 353, 344, and 376. The consistency is almost unbelievable. You would expect the required number of attempts to go up as the level of play does, and more tricks get included. But Nifty is making the opposite happen. Well, I guess it did make him 20 more attempts than usual after he implemented the insane new 4-2 strategy. Pretty brutal grind. Speaking of numbers that don't tell the full story, let's talk about frame perfect tricks. In case you don't know, frame perfect basically means you have the smallest window possible to press a button. This game runs at 60 frames per second, so if a jump is frame perfect, it means there's a 1/60th of a second window to time pressing the A button. This is a really common phrase in speedrunning, and one I think is a little too sensationalized. It sounds really cool, but it's kind of a misnomer in terms of describing how difficult something actually is. There are some frame perfect tricks that really aren't very hard. There are some tricks with multiple frames that are very hard. Some tricks have better visual cues than others. Some tricks have multiple tight inputs in quick succession. Some have a nice rhythm to them, which makes them easier to time. And some tricks are a frame perfect button release instead of a press. There are so many factors at play that impact how hard a trick is to do consistently. So keep that in mind and don't get too tunneled in on the concept of frame perfect. With all of that being said, let's now look at the number of frame perfect inputs in the run. I'll keep saying numbers don't tell the full story, but let me keep trying to tell the story with it.
Oh, well, look at this. Look at this. Yeah.
A single speed run. There you go.
Okay.
Do things like pipe jumps, which can be
I see cancer shrimp.
where you land on the pipe. Run. This jump in 8-1
Cancer shrimp.
perfect for him to survive. So you can add an extra one to the counter if you'd like. There's also tight movement needed to make the 1-1 underground fast enough. Pushing left with good timing on this slip in 1-2. To jump onto this Koopa to manipulate enemy patterns, and so much more that doesn't fit perfectly under the umbrella of frame perfect. Now, to put this run in perspective, here's how many frame perfect inputs are generally required at each level of play in this game. This isn't strictly accurate, but it's how many you would usually do with the most common route for each time. You can see it's just skyrocketing as time goes on, and that trend will continue. Here's how many you would need to get the time down to 454.3. We're just marching our way up the stairs to insanity right now. Finally, to get the perfect 8-4 and an absolutely perfect run all the way through, you would need this. 84 frame perfect inputs. We've gotten as far as we have in this game by making setups for tricks and simplifying every stage as much as possible. But 8-4 is a different beast. There's no getting around it in that stage. If you want to match the task, you do the task inputs. To play a perfect 8-4, you need to save every frame, and that means doing a ton of complex inputs throughout each room in order to make Mario accelerate faster. From this point on, every time you want to take an extra 1 or 2 frames off the 80% world record, you add a few more frame perfects in. There are more frame perfect inputs left to add in than there are frames to save in the run. Things get really crazy from here. But there is hope. We've hit walls a few times in the past. Points for doing the remaining tricks seemed unreasonable. But at each of these points, players were able to put all their focus on the next hurdle and overcome it. 4-2 was the next hurdle for this game, and players like Nifsky and Miniland conquered it. Nifsky had a 23% success rate with it on the day of his world record. He also had a day in the past where he got it 4 out of 9 times, a 44% success rate. With rates like these, you could potentially start getting 2 or 3 more attempts a day to 8-4. And with 8-4 being the final hurdle, runners have a reason to get far better at it than they ever have before. Many people ask if the perfect run will ever be done. Most say it's way too crazy. After all, a perfect 8-4 has only been done twice ever. But I say that once upon a time, that was true about 4-2 as well. It was once a one-off fever dream that had only been done outside of runs. But when it was the next best place to save time, runners conquered it. Yes, hitting every one of these input sequences in 8-4 is something else, especially the third room, and especially the first room. But speedrunners in this game have shown that they can and will do whatever this game asks of them in the chase for perfection. Thanks for watching. When it comes to video games, pretty much everyone knows the original Super Mario Brothers. And when it comes to speedrunning, pretty much everyone is familiar with this classic, highly optimized run. The fact that you can beat this game in 5 minutes has basically spawned my entire career. A lot of you out there are very familiar with the 80% speedrun of this game. And yes, many of you actually don't know the true 80% runs. The same can be said about a certain glitch in this game. This being perhaps the most famous game of all time, it has one of the most famous glitches in all of video games, the minus world. A lot of you out there are very familiar with this trick, and yet many of you actually don't know the true minus world. I'm here to turn your world upside down today. The 80% speedrun of this game is not 5 minutes long. The minus world is not an endless water stage. Everything you know is wrong. Stick around for the history, technical details, and speedrun breakdown of Minus World Endgame. Before we touch on some more important details of the run, let's touch on some important details of life. I believe in always trying to progress as a person and working on improving yourself each day. The sponsor of today's video, BetterHelp, can be a helpful resource for that. All of their therapists are licensed professionals, and you'll be connected with one that best suits your needs. You can use my link to go to their site, and from there you'll be asked a few questions to get a personalized therapist match. What is it? Why does it exist? How do you get there? And what does minus world ending even mean? Probably for most of you, the existence of the minus world won't be new. It's one of the most famous glitches out there. It was even featured in issue number 3 of Nintendo Power. Let's see what it says. It tells us to break these 2 blocks, and then after many tries, Mario may go through the wall. Don't tell anyone, but I'm feeling like being a bit of a rebel today. I'm going to break only one of the blocks, and I'm going to go through the wall in only one try. Very good. But why is Mario able to go through? Usually all the clips I've talked about in my videos require pushing left to get pulled in, doing some extra jumps to get in all the way, or something along those lines. That's clearly not happening here. You just go straight through. Well, the answer is pretty simple. See, it's all because Mario is on screen, and his Y position is less than 207, so we start performing collision checks on Mario's head. His Y position is less than 32, and his head is touching a tile, and not colliding with a coin, and he's moving upwards or downwards, doesn't really matter. Either way, we move on to the foot collision checks. And our Y position is good, and our feet aren't colliding with, well, anything. So we start doing side collision checks, and Y position is less than 32, and his bottom left side is not touching a tile, and his Y position is less than 32, yeah. And no, his bottom right side is not touching a tile, and done. Great. I'm sure we can move on from this now. Alright, in plain English, here's why it works. Super Mario Brothers, as you just saw, has a very sophisticated system of checks to decide whether you should interact with a wall or not. Shoutouts to Dan Sabato for this flowchart that he made. The reason this game's collision logic is so rigorous is to make things feel nice and smooth. And so collision isn't overbearing and annoying like some other Mario games that came out 30 years later. An example of this in SMB1 is when you're jumping upwards. You can clip the top corner of a block and keep going past it. It's kind of nice. You get up there smoothly instead of bonking the block, but you just barely touched it. But because the developers' efforts were so great and complex to try and make the game play like this, sometimes there can be blind spots in the logic. Like with this example of jumping up past the corner of blocks, let's see what happens if we jump at the perfect height. You can jump high enough that you don't clip the corner, since the game thinks you're underway to get up on top of the block, but you can still be just low enough that you don't get up on top, and you can clip inside it. The famous clip used to get to the minus world is another case like this. The game checks to see if you're at the top of the screen, usually called the HUD or status bar area. Mario can't really interact with anything up here. This can easily be seen with the vine in 4-2, which I'm sure some of you have jumped straight through the top of and probably fallen to your doom. I'm not sure why this check exists to disable collision at the top of the screen, since there's never really anything up here to interact with, but there's probably a good reason. Anyway, even if your head is high enough up here to have its collision disabled, your feet are lower down and could still hit things. There is, however, a really specific window you can be in, where your head is high enough to go through a block, but your feet aren't quite high enough to touch that block. So, you go straight through it. And once the left side of Mario's head or body is inside a wall, you're always free to continue running to the right, and no walls will stop you. It might seem weird, but it makes sense if you consider areas like this spot in 1-2. You don't want the player to get stuck inside the wall, so they're allowed to run out of it to the right. And yeah, that's the famous minus world clip explained. Now that I've explained all of that, we actually don't need to do any of that at all. There are better options to get to the minus world. But I want to do explain it anyway. I find it interesting because it's such a famous trick. Plus, this type of clip where you can go through blocks at the
Chicken
top of the
wings.
screen is useful in some other areas.
It's like this barbecue chicken
Type of
wings.
clip that can be used much more often though is a crouch clip. This actually works the same way that walls do. Walls are made up of a bunch of separate blocks, and you can land on top of these blocks very briefly before getting pushed out of the wall. If you crouch and then land on the block just below a ceiling, Mario will stand up. Now his head is inside the ceiling above him, and he's free to continue running inside the wall. This method of clipping is also a pretty common and well-known way to get to the minus world. But a lot of times I see people still break these bricks before doing it. That is not necessary. That was only for the previous type of clip, so Mario could jump up high enough to get in the status bar area. This is a public service announcement. You don't have to break any of these bricks to do this type of clip. Okay? Great. Alright, should we finally get past this wall and move on to the warp zone? Let's consult Nintendo Power again to see what to do next. It says, quickly enter the left or right pipe. I think I'm going to continue to be a rebel today and slowly enter the middle pipe. Oh, World 5? That's weird. I'm sure a lot of you already knew about this, but for how famous this glitch is, a surprising number of people don't know that the middle pipe takes you to World 5. And yes, if we go in one of the side pipes, it does take us to World -1. Pipes this hack. This is a good time to say that the minus world glitch as a whole has been explained several times over the years. I highly recommend giving this video by Displaced Gamers a watch to fully understand what's going on. I was going to go through some of this stuff, but honestly, there's not really a point when he's already done it beautifully. I will share tidbits that add new value to the conversation. In the video, he talks about how the game erroneously sets this warp zone to act like the warp zone from the end of 4.2, until it has loaded in all the way. That is why the middle pipe sends you to World 5. That's what it does in the warp zone in 4.2. In fact, if you make the screen scroll as you're entering the glitched World 5 pipe, you can see a 5 appear above it, indicating that that's where it will send you. Wait, if it has a 5 above it and it sends you to World 5, then these show nothing above them. They send you to World Nothing. World Nothing -1. That's why it's the minus world. It looks like it says World -1, but actually it's just nothing. Yeah. It's a blank space, or a blank character. We have something other than a number representing the world number. This reminds me of when you do the classic Koopa 1-up trick on a staircase, and then when you finish the level, you see your life counter has turned into complete nonsense. As you get lives, the game starts by counting with regular numbers, but after that it uses letters. And then after that, it starts using every tile at its disposal to represent your number of lives. Just like the letter A can represent a number, this little hill slope tile can also represent a number. And another one of these tiles in the game that can represent a number is the blank character. Every tile in the game has an associated value in memory. Here's a table of all of them in order. If we look through them, we'll find that the 36th one in here is the blank character. This character represents the number 36. That means the minus world is World 36. That's a powerful warp pipe, moving us forward 35 worlds. So, great. We have a little trick here that lets us make it to World 36. Our reward for making it here is a copy of level 7-2, which 7.2 is already a copy of 2-2. So that's not really that exciting. If you use hacks or cheats to go to other worlds beyond World 8, you can get all sorts of crazy looking levels. Fortunately, the one glitched world we can access without cheats is actually pretty boring. There was a chance we could have gotten something really cool for this world. And we did, on the Famicom Disk System version. There are a lot of different versions of Super Mario Bros. Most of them are the exact same game, just packaged differently. Even in the ones where there are multiple games on one cartridge, the game itself hasn't been altered in any way, and the minus world is just the same. But there is one version, the Famicom Disk System version, that is different. Hello, friends. I'm here to teach you about the Famicom Disk System. Please understand, it's really important to me that you understand what a Famicom Disk System is. Please don't walk away from this video thinking an FDS is the same thing as a Famicom. Okay, this is an NES, and this is a Famicom. You'll notice they're pretty much the same. There are some minor differences between NES and Famicom, and there are some different models of NES and Famicom out there. But generally speaking, anything in the family computer family of systems is pretty much the same thing on the inside. Now this beautiful creature is a Famicom Disk System.